4 or more films. Also, the way I did this list is that they have to be a part of the same universe. It can't be spin-off movies or restarts and stuff. It have to be continuations of at least 4 films or more. Before we get into the top 10, I do have a few honorable mentions that were close, but they either need some more or they're just not as good as the top 10. The first honorable mention is the DCEU. The DCEU had a lot of potential. It started off with Man of Steel, a movie that I really do enjoy. Even though I'm not a Superman fan, I still think the film is good. But everything after that was hit or miss, and was a lot of miss. Wonder Woman, the first one, was good. The Suicide Squad, the second one, was good. Aquaman was good. Shazam, Peacekeeper, stuff like that was good. But The Flash was bad. The second Wonder Woman wasn't that great. And there was the first Suicide Squad wasn't that great. But it needed help from the beginning that it's getting now, but now it's going to be rebranded and its own separate thing. But it just had too many issues at first that you can't really go back to fix, especially now that they're starting over. Second honorable mention is Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park has 6 films, 3 original trilogy that lead into the new 3 trilogy with Chris Pratt. The first one was such a monumental film. It was such a big film in pop culture and in everything. The second one was my favorite. I believe that one was my favorite. Where they go back to the island and they try to rescue a little boy. That one I liked. The third one was okay. It kinda dropped off at the end, but when they brought back the franchise, they did a really good job in my opinion. But the third one wasn't the best, and I know these latest 2 were decent. Were decent, but I don't think the 6 films together are enough to make a top 10, or at least my top 10. And my last honorable mention these are the new-ish movies, which I believe are the 3 Lord of the Ring films and the Hobbit film. These films, I believe I've only seen once, but in my one time of seeing them, they've held a really good impression on me. These films are really good. From what I've seen, I do want to go back and see them. They are really entertaining, and everything that I saw was amazing. The action, the drama, and I'm sure that if I watch more, there'd be a lot more lore and things that I can see and pick up on, which I believe would be really amazing. But for those reasons, it's at the 10th spot, just because I don't know it as well as I do my 9 through first place. Coming in at 9th spot, I have the Rocky franchise. The Rocky franchise consists of Rocky 1 through 5, Rocky Balboa, and then the 3 new Creed films, Creed 1, 2, and 3. These films are a main staple of Philadelphia, of Sylvester Stallone, of boxing. These were such good films. Such good films. I know the first one, the second one, the third one, and I believe the fourth one were really good. But the fifth one wasn't the best. But Rocky Balboa, it wasn't the best either because of how much older he had gotten. But man, did it have a good speech. And these new three are really good. It kind of takes a different approach from Rocky himself and gives you the approach of Adonis, which is really cool. And I really like these films. They are my favorite boxing films. And yeah, I like these films a lot. All the sequences, training sequences, the fights, and everything like that, I like a lot. Moving on to the number 8 spot, we have I believe, a up-and-coming star, with that being the Monsterverse. The Monsterverse is the Godzilla films. That's Godzilla Rise of the Monsters, Kong and Godzilla, and the newest one, the New Empire. These films are really good. From when we first see Godzilla back in 2014 to most current day, how they took the side of, oh, it's just humans versus Godzilla. They said, nah, now it's Godzilla, and he has an actual fight. He has actual competition now, and he has to fight these big monsters, these big creatures. And man, is it entertaining as ever. From the first one to the newest one, and I know they're still gonna make a few more, I believe. But yeah, these films, these Monsterverse films are really good, in my opinion. The CGI is amazing. I love all the sounds of all the different creatures, the fight scenes, everything. The powering of the everybody just fighting it out. But yeah, the Transformer franchise is up there for me. Really up there. If Rise of the Beast is in the timeline and they continue following that timeline, it could probably be pushed into the top 5. Coming in, or kicking off the top 5, I have the Shrek franchise. Now, I know Shrek only has 3 films, but Puss in Boots has 2. Shrek 2, Shrek the Final Chapter, 3D, Puss in Boots, and the new Puss in Boots. These animated films are amazing. The first one was so good. The voice acting, the voice choices were perfect, and the soundtrack for these were just so good and just so funny and entertaining. Then you get to peak Shrek 2. So much more funnier, or a lot funnier. The voice acting, a better story, more drama, more twists and turns, a better soundtrack that just, oh my, top off the film. The third one was okay, but it's still part of the universe, and it is a great film. Then you get to Puss in Boots. Puss in Boots, when the egg Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. That movie was good. But when you watch the newest Puss in Boots film, I believe it's Puss in Boots The Final Wish. That one is really good. The animation style, the voice acting, the little story, the little teasers, everything about it is such a good film, and one of my favorite animated films of that year that it came out. But 1 and 2 and that Puss in Boots movie, I've done enough for it to be in my top 5.